What's up guys, Mike here, the Detroit Borg, with a look at the developer preview of Android M, which is available right now on the Nexus 5, 6, and 9. There are some differences between the phone and the tablet, and we'll take a look at them in this video. Now keep in mind, this is a developer preview, and things will change before we finally see the release. So in terms of what's new, the differences actually start with the lock screen. So on the lock screen, we now have quick access to search in the lower left corner, so we're able to quickly launch into Google Now. That replaces the phone dialer from the previous design. Now once again, you can swipe on the camera icon to quickly launch into the camera. The camera app is pretty much unchanged. The one detail I've noticed here is that the tap to focus animation here is a little different. It now pulses in and out to find focus as opposed to twisting as we saw with the previous animation. We can also see the clock face has changed. It's now a bolder font, but otherwise the interface is pretty familiar. Now in terms of the home screen, not a whole lot new here. Of course, we have Google Now and we have the main home screen, which we can edit by tapping and holding on it. The biggest change here is the app drawer. So the app drawer is now vertical and alphabetized. Up top, we have our recently opened apps. So all of those will appear up here. You're limited to 4. You can't scroll between them. And unfortunately, we're locked down to this layout. So we can't go back to our custom layout or chronological layout. It's now all alphabetical. Of course, you can also just search your app drawer if you prefer. One of the other changes happens when you hit the volume key. So we now have a new volume control layout, which gives us granular control over notification volume, music and media, as well as alarms. So that's nice to have. It's very similar to other Android skins. Now, if you want to mute your alarms, just toggle your volume all the way down, toggle again, and you can see we're now in alarm only mode. Now all those do not disturb features have been relocated to the drop down shade under our quick setting toggles here. So if we tap on this, we now have all those familiar controls such as alarms only, total silent, and priority only, and you can schedule this for certain times of day. Now we're up to 12 hours here, so you can go all the way up to 12 hours if you want. I believe it used to be 8 hours. And you can toggle this all the way down to 15 minutes at minimum. Now, if we go to more settings, we have some additional controls here. Now, we can modify the behavior of priority only. So if you want to see your reminders or turn that off, you can. Events, messages, so you can select from specific contacts, from starred contacts, or none at all. You can also limit the calls that come through, from contacts only, from starred contacts, and you can also enable repeat callers. So if somebody calls twice in a row, this will allow that call to come through. Now, something new here is automatic rules. So we have a few rules already here. We have weekend off, weeknight off, and event, and you can add another one. But let's go ahead and take a look at these first 3. So you can modify the rule name. You can select specific days. Obviously, this is the weekend rule. We can select the start time as well as the end time and the do not disturb function. So we can select priority only, alarms only, or total silence. So all of that is adjustable. This also applies to events. So calendar events can actually trigger this. Now we can add a new rule here. So for example, if I want to add a new rule here, I'm just going to call it video. So let's say I want to set this up as a time rule. So I can customize the time in which this activates. So for example, let's say I start recording video at noon every day, and I can select a minute if I want. And I end it at, let's say, 8 p.m. Click OK. So that will activate either priority only, alarms only, or total silence. So I'm going to select priority only. So I can turn this on or off, or I can just delete the entire rule. Now in terms of the home screen editor, this really hasn't changed much, but if we go to our widgets panel, you can see this has also adopted the continuous vertical scrolling that the app tray has as well. Google Now has also been enhanced with something called Now on Tap. So basically, this can peek into the apps you're looking at. So no matter what you're looking at, Google Now can see it and can actually determine the best course of action for you and can suggest it. So for example, if you're within a conversation and the conversation includes reference to a movie or a restaurant or maybe even a flight, if you press and hold the home button, this will bring up the contextual Now on Tap. So this will offer things such as tracking information or restaurant reviews or navigation information. So it's kind of interesting, but right now, unfortunately, it's not available on the developer preview. Now let's take a look at our settings panel, and that's where we'll find more changes here. So for example, one of the new features we have appears under personal, and that is this Google section. So this allows us to manage all of our Google services, such as our ad preferences or our search and now preferences, or our Google Photos preference, our backup preferences. So for example, if you want to change the upload size, you can change that all here. Now this was previously available across many apps, so now they've just put it in one location, and I think that's very handy. Now the app manager has been completely redesigned, which gives you a lot more control. So for example, we can see our standard apps, then we can see our system apps, We can hide those again if we want. We can also go up to Advanced, and Advanced allows you to manage app permissions. So we can see which apps are using your calendars, camera, contacts, location, microphone, phone, SMS, and sensors. So for example, if we go to sensors here, you can see which apps are using those. We also have location services, so if you want to turn off location services for certain apps, you can do that. So for example, if you don't want Instagram to keep track of where you're taking your photos, you can deny it. Now we can also change permissions directly from the app. So for example, if we go to Instagram here, go to permissions, you can toggle these on and off. Also available under Advanced is a new memory utility that shows us the memory performance of this device app by app. So you can see Chrome has used the most memory out of all the apps here, up to almost 1 gig of RAM. You can see what it averages. So this is kind of an interesting way of seeing your performance. We can also select apps to ignore battery optimization here. So for example, Google Play Services, the Google Play Store, and you can select specific allowed apps. Android M also integrates Android Pay. This is a new platform very similar to Apple Pay. Basically, it stores credit cards securely on your device, generates a separate credit card code every time there's a new transaction, uses NFC to initiate and complete the transaction, and you can authenticate using a fingerprint sensor if the device supports it. So right now, there's nothing under Tap and Pay because that feature has not been activated yet. The storage interface has also changed here. So we now have device storage with a list of items that we can tap on. Right now it's only one, it's my internal storage. But the idea here, I think, is if you have an SD card slot or if you have cloud storage, you can access it from here. So I can just go ahead and tap on it and brings me to my traditional interface. Android M also introduces some under-the-hood features. One of them is Doze. Now, Doze, D-O-Z-E, basically means that the phone or tablet is using its sensors to determine if it's being used or not. So we'll dial back background processes and cellular connectivity or things like that to improve battery life without crippling the device for critical functions like phone calls or notifications. So the idea here is that with this technology built into Android M, it improves standby time by twice as much as before. Android M also anticipates USB Type-C connectors, which will eventually come to Android devices this year. So USB Type-C is bidirectional. It can send both power and data in both directions. So we now have more controls for managing that with Android M. And unfortunately, I can't demonstrate that because I do not have a USB Type-C Android device to show it on. Android M also brings us app link verification, so apps can be written to auto-verify. Basically, this means that when you open up an external link or a link that opens up another app, it can automatically verify the app instead of us having to choose the default app or managing that. So that means we're less likely to run into those occasions when we have to select the app to open before it opens. Now, Android M on the Nexus 9 is a little different. Most of the changes are the same. So, for example, we have the updated clock face with the uppercase font. We have quick launch into Google Now or the camera app. The real differences happen with the drop-down notification shade. So if you swipe down on the right, it comes down on the right. Swipe down on the middle, comes down the middle. Swipe on the left, comes down on the left. So that's a little different. Now, that works in landscape or portrait orientation. Now the app drawer has been updated for vertical scrolling just like on the phone, but it's a little different. We don't have the alphabet on the left side to sort through. We also have our recently accessed apps toward the top. Now, if you take a look at our widgets, again, same vertical scrolling idea. Now, if you enable developer options, we have a few features that have been talked about a lot, although this is not user-facing, so this is perhaps not terribly important, but we do have this new theme available for the settings panel. So we have light, dark, and automatic. I'm not sure if this will be expanded to other parts of the UI, but for example, if we enable dark mode, you can see, again, this is just the settings panel that darkens, not the entire user interface. So for example, if we navigate away from here, you can see it's not dark, and if we go to our drop-down shade, it's still light. So I'm not sure if this will change with different releases. We also have automatic mode, and I'm assuming this kicks in depending on the ambient light conditions. We can also show System UI Tuner. So this allows us to modify the quick setting toggle. So if we go to System UI Tuner under Settings, go to Quick Settings, we can now drag and drop these to delete them, or we can add new ones. Now, if we go to About This Phone, we can check out the latest Easter egg with Android M. You can see the Android version number is just M. They haven't determined what the version number is yet. So let's go ahead and tap on that to launch into the new Easter egg. Now we have this Material Design Android M logo. If we tap 3 times and hold, we can get to the Easter egg, which is just this little shrug. So of course, more to come, especially once they finally name this release. So it might be milkshake, might be meringue, might be marshmallow, who knows? But let me know in the comment section below what you want it to be named. Alrighty guys, so that is my quick look at Android M, and there's lots of other changes, so I'll leave a link in the description below for a link to some of those other options. Many of them are not working yet in this beta. Hopefully I'll have a full walkthrough once the final update is released, which we can expect in the fall. So that's going to do for me in this video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again in the next one.